ocean, solving mysteries in the night. Chasing shadows, finding answers, shining bright light. No one's left behind in the darkness, all alone. With a heart like a siren, she brings the lost ones home. Silent cries in the dark no longer have to be. For justice wheels keep turning, granny on the beat. Broken voices find their power, call out hope again. When pennies crime busters run, no victims left in vain. Bravery in her veins, truth she won't disguise. With a fire in her eyes, she's got nothing to deny. Granny fights for justice, never backs down from the call. For the voiceless and the missing, she'll stand tall.
Hello, everybody. It didn't unmute me. How's everybody doing? Hello, Ginger Girl. Good to see you. Sorry I was a little bit late. Not too bad, but hello, Brenda Joe. Good to see you. Oh, the weather lately has been so nice. Hope it stays this way and doesn't get cold. Oh, goodness. Tonight I wanted to take a look. The last couple of videos of Mike Demand have been really good, guys. And he's got another one coming out tonight that I think is really good. Hello, K9. Good to see ya. And tonight's, I think he goes on at 7. But it's going to be really good. So we may watch that tomorrow. But I thought we'd go over the one from tonight. There was a new picture that came out, and it was kind of the full picture. Remember this one that I showed yesterday that we were wondering about his neck? Well, this is the full picture, and that's the one that came out today. So he actually had a puppy in his lap. I wonder if he just recently, got glasses within the last couple of years, guys, because it didn't seem like he had glasses on in some of these other pictures. But cute little picture of Sebastian. His smile is still the same, isn't it? It's so cute. Just such a cutie. Hello, Cheryl. Good to see you. Melissa. Hello. So, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we are going to take a look at Mike Demand's video. Because I am kind of curious, how are Chris Watts and Katie Proudfoot's statements similar? I want to know, right? I want to know what he says. So let's hear what he has to say.
So this video, well, let me say it like that. I have to go back a little bit into the subject matter of my previous video where I have talked about the other Chris, who is Chris Watts. And Chris Watts and Katie Proudfoot, as it turns out, have a lot of statements in common, have made a lot of similar statements. And just how many and how similar they are, it pretty much demands for me to pay more attention to the person that Chris Watts is and who Katie Proudfoot is. So
the person who Chris Watts is. I don't know about you guys. What do you think? Who is the person that Chris Watts is? Well, we know he's a murderer, right? Oops, I shouldn't have said that. He's a red drummer. Yes, Ginger, we are patiently waiting for those TRH pictures, but yeah. I don't know when we'll see them. But can you imagine? um, so I wouldn't be thrilled if somebody was comparing my statements to a red rummer's statements. I would not be thrilled at all. But what does that say? I mean, yeah, exactly, K9. I would not somebody I would want to be compared to, right? And I didn't think of it before, but um honestly, I guess my thumbnail of putting those two side by side might attract a little attention. But basically I really wanted to see what Mike Demand is saying behind this, and that's why I put it that way. Um, not for any other reason, but now that I'm thinking about it, it may not have been the best idea, but I certainly would not. I can't even imagine. I would never want to be compared to someone like that. He thought he was so clever, didn't he? I don't know. Can we say the same about Katie? She thought she was so clever. Yeah, it would make you a bit uneasy. Yeah. uh, um, Katie, if you're listening, just tell the truth. Just tell the truth. Goodness sakes.
Lauren will probably make a short video, a side by side, where Katie Proudfoot says, I want him back so bad. And Chris Watts, while his family was missing after he gotten rid of them, his wife and daughters, and the unborn child of his wife, right? She was pregnant. He talked about his wife. I want her back so bad. And then he said, I want those kids back so bad. And many times he licks his lips. And it's like he wants to wash away the lies. At that time, I talked about it in the last video, but so bad, you've done bad. The language we use and that we're comfortable using depends often on experiential memory and being able to connect to an act, to something that we have been a part of, witnessed, seen, or done. So when somebody says, I want her back so bad, that needs to be noted. Not so much, not just without knowing statement analysis or without thinking about it. Doesn't it strike you as strange if somebody has a child missing and says, I want him back so bad? Do you need to explain how much you want him back? The need to explain and the need to dramatize tells us they are not talking to a potential kidnapper or runaway or any of that. They're talking to the audience. And they're making this about themselves. Everything that Katie has been telling us. It's about her.
Wow, guys. See, that's why I really like him, because he picks things out that I would never think of. Just out of context, I mean, if somebody said, you know, I don't know if I've ever used that. I want that so bad, or I don't know if I ever have. I mean, but I've heard it said before, right? But I never thought about that in relation to a missing child or missing children and a wife. Um, that's it kind of blows my mind. And how he talks about experiential memory being what we revert to, you know, did something bad happen? Using that word bad comes out. And instead, and he brings up a good point. She's not talking to the kidnapper or person who might have her son. She's talking to the audience, and it's all about her. You know, it yeah, it just blows my mind how he picks out things that I would never have thought about. But he sees it, right? He sees it. You know, I look at what he does and I think, I don't know if I could ever really be good at statement analysis. Because this old granny has a tendency to trust. I'm not going to pull apart something like that. I mean, did I believe that she wanted him back so bad? No, I didn't believe it, but I didn't really pick apart what she said, right? Just really interesting.
I miss him so much. I. Not one word about how is my son doing. When Seth was asked, how are you doing? It doesn't matter. How am I supposed to do? I want to know, is my son cold? Is he hungry? Is he he has not been able to give up hope. Hope keeps him alive. And so for Seth, it is very important what Sebastian might be going through, because he doesn't know if Sebastian is alive or not. And if your child is still alive and suffering somewhere, that is your only priority, not explaining how you feel, how much you miss him. This is the one thing that has been a theme throughout the statement analysis world. Whenever there's a missing child case or something happened, and we want to see what the priority of the parents is. And if it's not the child, that needs to be noted, especially if the priority is them. And in Chris's case, in Chris Proudfoot's case, it's only them. It's pure hell. All the negativity. Everything is only about him, not one thing about the child. Seth, his statements come out clean, because he says the things that are expected from the father of a missing child if the father has absolutely no clue what happened. And I want to go back to clarifying something. I talked about how Chris Watts started confessing, and the things he confessed to made it impossible for him to backtrack. And it wasn't the police that said to him, did she do something to the children? It was his own father. So I don't know if the police.
Hang on there. I remember watching Chris Watts' interrogation a few times. Right. Guys, did this case make you sick to your stomach? I mean, it did me, you know. Shanann and those babies, oh my gosh, it was horrible. But I remember watching Chris Watts' interrogation, and just before they called his dad in there, the woman police officer said, we know this has got to be difficult. Something like that. She was trying to get him on her side, right? And she said, did Shanann do something? And then you heard her because she heard them. She said something like that. So I don't think he's really correct in this spot. But I do feel that her and then the father, his father, planted this seed in his mind. And then he just ran with it. Right? I think he thought it would go easier on him because they planted that. We could understand, if she did something that, you just, lashed out because she did something. We can understand that, trying to get him to talk. But I do remember that specifically. And I wish, I kind of wish that I had that here right now, but I don't. Canine says she's always made it all about her, never about Sebastian or what he's going through. Who cares what you're going through, KP? Yeah. Her and Chris, Oh, it's been pure hell, right? Pure hell. You know what? I'm sure it has. But because you were not expecting this much pressure on you from the media and from the public, were you? Yeah. Makes you wonder what the real dynamics of Katie's relationship with Sebastian truly was. I know. Uh, I get confused because you see those pictures of her earlier on, and I just really feel like something happened when they moved to Stafford Court. Was the house evil? I, it was that sudden, guys, that the break occurred, that things went really bad, really fast. Yeah, it was horrific what he did, and they knew what was going to happen to them. I know. Can you imagine those poor little girls? I can't. And they were asking about their mommy. Those poor babies. I don't like to say this about anybody, but I hope he is haunted by their words and their cries as he did this to them. I really do. And now the jerk, for lack of a better word. Well, I could think of better words, but I won't say them on here. The jerk is now blaming his mistress. Whatever.
Told the father to say that. It's very possible. It's highly possible that while the father was waiting to speak to his son, that the cop said, listen, they already suspected him, of course, Chris. They suspected Chris Watts of being the one who has done everything. And maybe the cops told the father, they didn't want to tell him, look, I think your son did all that, because the father would have pulled back and probably immediately called a lawyer and said, we have nothing to say to you anymore. So again, this is only my opinion, but I think that they may have told him, listen, we think that maybe Shannon Watts, hurt the children, and what he did was an act of revenge or reflex or something, and then he knows where the bodies are. And this seems to have been the genius move, the best move, because the father goes in there and says, did she hurt the children? And Chris fell for it immediately and said, yep, she did.
Right. But that's a really good point that Mike is making. The police might have said something because they actually left the room. And before they brought the father in, that female police officer could have said, maybe Shanann did this, and he, out of revenge, we really need to get those bodies, and and that way they're being the good guy to the dad, so that everybody doesn't just shut down, because the dad could have walked in there and said, lawyer up, don't say anything else, right? So if they were indeed behind that, it was an ingenious move on their part.
So I want to go back also a little bit even further. At the history, there was an incident or something happened where Shannon didn't like that her mother-in-law gave something to the kids, or something happened where Shannon talked about, I will never let my daughters around their grandmother again, Chris Watts's mother. And this seems to be, there was tension there. And I always say, if you have a son that's crazy or possibly crazy, and you don't like your daughter-in-law, and I'm not blaming her at all, there is nothing, I don't know what, understand, this person can snap. And when she said, I will never let my daughters around your mother again, I don't know, some guys are mama's boys, and they take their mom's side, or they allow this to almost encourage them, or look at the spouse in a different way, which of course, in a healthy person, they look at their marriage and their parents very differently, and they know how to sort things out. But we get a little bit of how the conversation could have started so well between Chris Watts' father and him, because when he said, did she do something, did she hurt the children, I am assuming there was already discussion about her that may have been in a negative way. So this could have been an easy continuum of them talking about Shannon. And again, this is only speculation on my part. Well, it's more than speculation, because I watched that moment that Chris Watts' father asked him, and it was a natural progression. It was, did she do something to hurt the children? And Chris immediately said yes. And so then his storyline became that she hurt the children and he hurt her, which of course is complete bogus. But this allowed law enforcement to step in, say, okay, now show us the bodies. Now they didn't have to tiptoe around it anymore. They had something. Well, you said this, you said she did this, and then you did. Well, take us. Okay, what time? When did you take him there? What happened? But you see, he was already questioned after that video was shown by the neighbors where he was fidgeting. And that's pretty much a reaction that kicks in when your whole house of lies crumbles. And that was his house of lies when all of a sudden you're caught. And is he a sociopath? He could be. I have not looked at him closely enough. It's highly possible that he is. And once you're found out, everything is found out. That's the moment when you have to drop your act and you're naked in the wind. And
Are we ever going to get to that moment with Katie and Chris? Sebastian allowed her to have a specific image of a good mom. Was Sebastian just a source of narcissistic supply for Katie? Could be. Could be. You know, it made her look good to have an autistic son she could look like. Yeah. That makes me sick, honestly, to think about it. I wonder if Sebastian knows what's happening to him. We can only hope that he is somewhere where they're taking good care of him. I don't think they're letting him have access to anything because if they or bring him into a town anywhere, because if they did, I mean, wouldn't you think he'd be bound to see something? Then again, I don't know. You know, if he's in a different city and it's not around, you know, the 1 year mark or 6 month mark, right? When the news agencies are all talking about it, you know, I mean, I guess it wouldn't matter. He could watch the local news wherever he was and never hear his name, probably. Oh, Shanann, of course. Yes. You know, here's my question. I mean, he had 2 girls, right? And he seemed to be a good dad. Now he was going to have a boy. And he didn't want it. He was going to have a little boy, guys. What man doesn't want a little boy? You know, a son. Right? Carry on their name too. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't want it. Nicole Kessinger was more important to him than his unborn son, his 2 babies, and his wife. It irritates me the way Mike says her name, though. Her name was Shanann, not Shannon. So it irritates me that he says that, but a lot of people can't say it right. I got the impression that Sebastian knew something was going on. Yeah, he did try to get his mom's eye contact a few times. He was, you know, and here's again why I'm wondering if the autistic diagnosis was not correct. Okay. So they said he was very much into himself. He liked to play. Well, you know what? If your parents don't spend any time with you, what else are you going to do? You're going to go into your room, right? Okay. And here was a boy at TRH that he knew. He looked up when she was taking that second picture of him. He was trying to get eye contact. he wasn't into himself at this place. Tell me if I'm reading it wrong, guys, but I'm just seeing he in all those pictures, he doesn't look socially awkward. Um, you know, he looked up when she was trying to take a picture sneakily of him, right? He knew what she was doing. He was aware of her. He was aware of her every move. Yeah. Not only at the table, but around the car. He stopped. He saw her green hoodie right away, right? He saw them right away. He backed up and then he walked out in front of the car, but he never took his eyes off a green hoodie. He was very aware of what was going on, guys. What could he be going through now? Yeah, she doesn't address that. She hasn't. Seth has. Seth has addressed it over and over again. I don't know if my son is hungry, if he's cold, if he's being treated right, if he's getting the help that he needs. It will be a blessing for Sebastian to get back with his dad and to get his dad will see that he gets the help that he needs, the right diagnoses, everything that he needs, right? Because Seth knew he didn't need to wear those pull-ups. Seth knew it. Yeah. And and all three parents have said that. All three of them have said that they have run into people who didn't even know that Sebastian is still missing after a year. So, guys, that's scary. And so Sebastian could be out there not knowing he's missing. Because I believe that Katie said something to him and told him where he was going that night. I believe that. Hi, Cecilia. Good to see you. No worries. So yeah, I just think about this and I think about, he hasn't gotten to the point that he's trying to make yet. He's talking quite a bit about Chris Watts here. And there's a reason why he's offering this background for Chris Watts. I'm just curious as to how he's going to compare that with Katie. So let's continue.
You are not looked at the same way anymore, and you need to give up some information. And little by little, of course, they realized no, there was nothing that Shannon has done to the kids. It was him doing something to Shannon. The kids came in. I think that's how it was. I mean, that is how I remember things. Now, the whole we thing. Peter Hyatt, who just passed away on the 5th of March this month, he always used a great example where, for example, okay, there was one case he was working on with a disabled woman. I don't know if she was not Down syndrome, but maybe mentally some sort of. It was a pretty high profile case where she accused her boyfriend of assault. And I'm very careful, by the way, with the words I'm using because I don't know how the YouTube algorithm changes. I had to one time do a video again, and I hate to do that because by the time I do it again, my mind is already on new statements and on another case. I'm really, really bad with scripts. Kind of like Katie, right? She cannot she has a hard time unless it's experiential memory. And she talks about Sebastian when he was 9 years old, when everything was still okay. Then you see her flow. Oh my gosh, did you see that in the interview? Did you see how she was hyped up and excited and laughing about the stories she was telling about Sebastian from the time? Nothing from recent years. The last 2 years, that was when things started to go bad because Sebastian could finally have a voice and talk about what took place at home.
Guys, did you hear that? The last 2 years. He's picked up on it because that's when Sebastian finally had a voice. Is that what happened, guys? Sebastian finally had a voice. They were getting him therapy, right? They started therapy. So he had a voice in therapy. Last 2 years, guys. There is something about that. There is something about the last 2 years. What happened when they moved from Remington Ave to Stafford Court? Those last 2 years, what happened? Yes, Sebastian crawled into the back seat of a car and was driven out of the neighborhood. Yeah. I mean, wasn't she used that as a scenario, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
So CPS, the cases would not go away. It was probably very different when Sebastian was 9 years old. And he was able just to scare him. And Sebastian said, oh, okay. Whatever it was. He was probably sad a lot. But as a teenager, he probably got to the point where he said, wait a minute. This is my house. You cannot throw my toys away. Whatever it is. He was in a very sad existence. And he
What do you think, guys? Do you think Sebastian stood up to Chris a little bit? Hello, Melly Cat. Good to see you. Do you think that's part of what happened? I don't think it's all of what happened by any means. But do you think that is part of what happened? Did Sebastian get a voice and start speaking back to Chris? Which Chris would not have stood for. I can't. I don't even like to picture what that would have looked like. Sebastian talking back to Chris. That would not have been a good thing.
probably started to realize that. And he was isolated there. The neighbors, many of them didn't even know there was a 15-year-old boy in the house. They didn't want anyone to know. It was different where they lived before, but I guess they upgraded to a nicer and bigger house. But that became the house of horrors for Sebastian. It was a dream house for Katie and Chris.
Guys, is Mike watching my videos? Did he watch what I said about the Remington Ave house to the Stafford courthouse? This just seems weird. Sebastian was starting to talk to others about what was going on. I don't believe he tried to stand up to CP. Even we know better. I mean, there have been people who have tried to stand up to him. I can think Terry Lynn, Truth. The rest have mostly, well, and Nancy Grace. Those are the only three I can think of that really stood up to him. Well, and Seth. Seth has stood up to him. But, oh my gosh. This is so weird because it just seems like he picked up on what I said about those houses. You just gave a free membership? I don't see anything coming through so far. But thank you. Yeah, I don't see anything coming through yet, Mallycat. Maybe YouTube's a little behind, I don't know.
Yes, but Sebastian's life changed for the much worse. And what Peter Hyatt was talking about in that case was that the lady, the disabled woman, her and her boyfriend, they were driving somewhere, and she said he assaulted her. But then when they drove back, she said we drove back into town. We, indicating unity. We. And Peter Hyatt said he didn't assault her. Because many times when there is an assault, yeah, we went out to have a drink, we went to the movies, then we had dinner, then we had some more drinks, then we went home, and then he assaulted me. I sat on the bed, I was shaken up, he did this, there is no more we. And it's very similar to when Katie Proudfoot tells us about how the day went leading up to Sebastian being missing. We had a really good day. We went to the bowling alley. We went to BJ's. We. 6 times she says we. Remember my video on my whiteboard? A whole paragraph. I have transcribed it. And the smaller first part had 6 times we, 1 time our, 1 time together. And in the second half, the bigger half, there was not one we. Once the evening came and they went home, there was no more unity. Now, what we need to notice there is the decline. It was a really good day and a pretty good evening as well. She's trying to paint the evening as something that it wasn't. She was asked, did anything happen? Was there an argument, something that could have caused him to run away? Which of course he didn't. But she said it was a normal evening, a normal night or evening. And then she doubles down and says it was a calm night. This tells us there was nothing calm about it. As a matter of fact, this may indicate that at one point she already snapped at him because she did not want to lose Chris. And she was now, towards the evening, looking forward to communicating with Chris on the phone. Now, when has he last seen Sebastian? He said it was early February, but didn't he say something about the 26th? But if you have the statement, the exact statement, feel free to share it with me. Um,
Yes. So didn't he say the last time that I saw Sebastian was in early February until the 26th of February when I got home? That's what he said several times. And a lot of people have picked up on that. But that is what he said. Yeah, Melly Cat, let me know. I'll look into it on my end too if that's the case. Something, it should have shown up in here. Yeah, yep, that is what he said. Until the 26th, which, guys, the 26th could have been 12:01 a.m., right? What was their time frame? 9:20 something to midnight, right? Even though, I mean, they said, you know, that they knew Sebastian was home, you know, right up until midnight. Well, no, because Katie herself said she never checked on him. So that statement was wrong anyway, because she said even when she heard the noise, she heard something and then she heard the noise and then she heard the thud, right? It escalated. She didn't check on him even then. So the last time she really saw Sebastian was 9:00 when he went to bed, according to her statements, right? 10 till midnight. Is that what they said? I thought it was 9 something, 9:20 something like that. But either way, doesn't matter because she never checked on him, according to her. According to her. We now know that their whole scenario was bogus. We don't know for sure what happened, right? We don't. We don't know what happened and when. But I mean, that was a Freudian slip, guys, that Chris said. The last time I saw Sebastian was early February until I got home, February 26th. Until he got home. Really? And he's never been questioned about that, guys. Nobody has ever said anything to him about that, as far as I'm aware. Hi, Robin. Yes, lies, lies, lies. Tell us more. Lies, lies, lies. Sweet little lies. Yes.
that could have been an embedded something. Now, when has he last seen Sebastian? He said it was early February, but didn't he say something about the 26th? But if you have the statement, the exact statement, feel free to share it with me. That could have been an embedded something. You know what I mean? An embedded admission. Because as I've said, it would have been possible
Embedded
for him
admission.
at midnight to drive down there, get there around 3:10.
Embedded admission, guys. Embedded admission. Well, Chris. So, CP, when you saw him on the 26th, what time was it? Was it early morning? And where did you take him? Inquiring minds want to know.
And then drive back, because the timeline he gave us when he was supposedly at work, it seems that this timeline was incorrect. So always be very careful, even when law enforcement says something. Law enforcement doesn't need to tell us the truth.
Exactly.
Law enforcement can tell Chris Watts' father, I think Shannon did something to the children. Sure.
Shanann.
That's how they sometimes have to move when their arms are tied. They set the traps. And then little by little, they got him. And then they see more inconsistencies. And then they can go from there and solve the case. And that was excellent. And by the way, it was Chris was here you have two people protecting each other. Katie Proudfoot and Chris Proudfoot. Now imagine it was just Katie and she has to perform her own material. Or it was just Chris and he has to rely on his own brain and not be able to use Katie's script. It would be a very different story. So the hard part is these two people have each other to talk to. They both know what happened. They're in this together. One falls, the other falls. I don't know how long Chris can keep it up because he, believe it or not, despite of what he put Sebastian through, and of course there is no empathy and there is nothing on his part. He didn't look at Sebastian like a human being. He still trashes him, and so does his mother. So again, wanting to please a parent. And I have to be very careful how I word it. But if there's anything we can learn out of it, going back to the other Chris, if you have a son who may be crazy and you don't like his wife, whether or not there is reason, wow, be gentle. Be gentle. If our parents are on our side and we do something, look at Brian Laundrie, for example. Look at what happened with Brian Laundrie. As a documentary on Netflix has revealed to us, the mother hated Gabby. The mother was jealous. There was, somebody called it emotional incest or something like that. And you know what? When Roberta Laundrie wrote to her son, I would help you bury a body, there's something very wrong there. Roberta even changed the address with the post office to have Gabby's mail go back to her home after she moved in with them, indicating, I want her out. What effect do you think that has on a mama boy son? What do you think? How do you think it impacts a son who may have an argument with his girlfriend? And he knows his mother hates her. If he's a mama's boy and he's abusive towards her, that may be what helps him feel justified. Well, my mom would be okay with this. No, people don't think so much about the law and morals or what should be or what the teachers told them or what others told them or what the... No, if the mom hates her to the point where she would help him bury the body, and remember all of the things that took place, how they stonewalled everybody. It was them against the rest of the world. And they knew what happened. They already wired $25,000 to that lawyer, whose name, by the way, seems to not ever be mentioned anywhere anymore. Stephen Bertolino. I guess that Netflix didn't want to... Yeah, I mean, there's a reason for that. There's a reason that the PI of Proudfoots.
So in listening to this part of it, I think he's rambling, but I am thinking about Chris's relationship with his mother, right? It could very well be the same kind of relationship that Brian Laundrie had with his mom. That is so funny. I know. When I read it, that song came into my head right away. Oh, there it is. Let me see. Well, it's showing up now, Mally Cat. Thank you, thank you. Let me play our little.
Granny wants to thank you all for kindness in the chat. Super stickers, bright and grand, gifts of love we understand.
Memberships you gifted here spread the joy and banish fear. Every super thanks you send warms her heart and ends the end.
Granny cheers with love so true for each special thing you do. Thank you from her heart. You all play a major part.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, Melissa. I remember hearing her friend say her name is pronounced like shenanigans. Yeah, exactly. It's the members only live on Saturday is at 2 p.m. Central. Yes, Cecilia, I could go for a coffee. Mally Cat's been a member for 3 months. I just want to show you I still support you. Thank you so much. You are so sweet, and I appreciate you and all of our members here. His mom is definitely a piece of work. She can steal a nursing baby away from their mother with no remorse. How can you steal another woman's child? Yeah. Yes. Yep. You know, and that mother is the mother of that child. I mean, it's almost like she made herself to be the mom. I and I my thoughts are that Chris doesn't want Faith for himself. He's doing it because his mother wants her. That's what he's doing. I don't know. I don't know how to change Central Time into Pacific. Is it 2 or 3 hours difference? I don't know. What time Eastern on Saturday? It would be 3 p.m. Eastern, right? Eastern's 1 hour later than us. So I think it'd be 3 p.m. Eastern. It's 2 p.m. Central. Yes. Thank you, Ginger. What is my time right now? My time right now is 6:01 p.m. Central Time. Okay, so let's get back. Hopefully he'll get on to.
Is referred to as the PI most of the time. So I don't believe in blaming or pointing fingers. I believe in pointing out what is or what could have been. And more than anything, I'm also interested in these progressions. How does an abusive relationship or a tense situation get to a certain point where people cannot just separate or people cannot say, that's it? And the thing is, though, Chris, it seems, did that. He's a black and white kind of guy. He's a simple guy. He realized the CPS was not going to go away. Before he can beat his way out of everything. Really, Sebastian, you told on me. He was easy to scare as a child, Sebastian. But now it was a different situation because it was already on record. And in school and with the CPS, they didn't let go. They wanted to do checkups and follow-ups.
He is bringing up a good point, guys. So if Sebastian was telling CPS, his teachers, what Chris was doing, there's a record now, right? And he's not so afraid maybe of the consequences anymore, right? And, you know, we've all pretty much figured out that that last CPS report pretty much must have stated that Chris could not be anywhere near Sebastian, right? That's why he wasn't home. It's not because, I mean, come on, if you're off the entire weekend and you got the whole weekend, it's nothing to drive 3 hours one way and 3 hours back. What are you going to do at the campground all weekend anyway without your family, right? So I don't believe that he didn't come home just because it's just too long of a drive. Come on. Be different if it's 10-hour drive or more. Then yeah, I mean you're taking the whole weekend drive and you're not even going to really have time at home. That makes sense to me unless you're flying. But 3-hour drive is nothing for a weekend home. Okay. Let me continue on.
They probably asked him on a regular basis, so what happened lately? And he tried to, yes, he can beat him and say, you told on me, now I'm going to beat you even worse. But guess what? Look at the progression here. It didn't cause Sebastian to be silent because he knew in school he probably had a comfort zone there.
Yep.
You see, some kids get bullied at school, but home is their comfort zone. He got bullied at home. So school, it seems to me from also the pictures, the teachers, they cared about him, about
Yep.
Sebastian. That was more of a comfort zone than home, where he has an ice cold mother and a violent stepfather. And
his description of Sebastian's parents is amazing. He he has, and I know it's not funny, guys. I'm just laughing at his description of them. It's not funny when you think Sebastian had to deal with this, so right? But ice cold mother, and what did he say about Chris? A violent stepfather. Yes. Yes, guys, high conflict personalities. That is what Chris had to, one of the classes that Chris had to take in the family courts. He was forced to take classes because of this personality. High conflict. Yeah, seriously. Yes, and he gave Katie an ultimatum. He did. He said, Sebastian or me. He was ready to be done with it all. Guys, that's the first thing, one of the first things that we heard back when Sebastian went missing was that Katie and Chris were on the outs. And I've heard it since then too, but I don't know if it's true. I've heard that Chris has an apartment, but I don't know. I thought maybe they were separated, but probably it's because of CPS. Yeah, I think it was CPS. But it could have been a little of both, right? Because he gave that ultimatum. So, but then we heard that she was having an affair. We heard that he was hitting up women. I mean, um, I heard all kinds of things, guys. And we don't know if it's true or not, right? We don't. But some of it feels like it fits, right? Especially if the last CPS report said he was not supposed to be anywhere around Sebastian. And then he says he wasn't home. I believe he was, though. I believe he was. Aw. Thank you so much, Serenity72. I appreciate you. You're so sweet. I have driven 3 hours to visit my brother and still drove back the same day. 3 hours ain't that long of a drive. No, it's not. And I agree with you, driving that far is nothing. Not at all. And you're going to get the other thank you. Thank you so much, Serenity. Appreciate that. Katie's abandonment issues from childhood may have been triggered when Chris left the home. Yeah, very much so. Especially with the fact when he said it's Sebastian or me. It's one thing if he leaves for work and they're talking all the time. But if he said to her, it's Sebastian or me, that's a whole different scenario now. She probably does feel abandoned, right? So, yeah. Let's continue on.
And there were people who wanted to know that he's going to be okay. So what did he do? What option did Chris have when beating him no longer shut him up? Because now, even if Sebastian had said, no, everything's okay. Wait a minute. Let me see your eyes. Let me see your arm. Let me see. Is there a bruise? How about on your back? No, they wouldn't. It's already 6 CPS reports, right? Or visits. 6. They knew that was ongoing and there could be an escalation. And Chris just didn't come home anymore. It was Katie who.
No. So, I see what he's saying, but I honestly believe that the CPS report was the one that made Chris. Nothing is going to keep Chris away from his home, guys. You realize that, right? It's his home. Nothing's going to keep him away from there. No kid is going to keep me away. Couldn't you see Chris saying something like that? Unless it was a court order that said he couldn't be home. So this is where I don't really agree with Mike on this part. I really think that it was a court order that kept Chris away from home.
Wanted to make sure that Chris would be with her. Katie is the one who wanted to make sure she doesn't lose Chris. Chris was probably already ready to get out of there. And maybe that's also why he's so confident, where he says, look, it was, I could have easily left. She didn't want me to leave. There is a certain aura about him where he feels justified in what he has done or what he has been a part of. Even the abuse he gave Sebastian. He probably thinks in the back of his mind, well, she could have just let me go. We could have just broken it off and gone our different ways, and because it wasn't going to get better in his mind. And Sebastian, in his mind, wasn't going to be able to live on his own. And so, as I have said, if we talk about premeditation, well, the language indicates now more than anything the calm night that something took place. Sebastian didn't want to go to sleep. There are 3 different statements that Katie made. And I have examined that, where she points out, she feels the need to point out, telling him to go to bed. And then some, meaning he didn't want to go to bed. Katie had an issue. And she wanted to work things out with Christopher. And the last thing she wanted Christopher to hear, you see, there could have been the noise. She said an hour later there was a noise. So, no, you told us it was a thud twice. That's a very different thing. But there could have been noise beforehand when she was ready to call Chris. And the last thing that she wanted was Chris to hear Sebastian in the background. She probably wanted him to think everything is going to change, everything is going to be better. Please come back. It was the evening time. So evening is when the kids go to bed and the grown-ups have some time for themselves, right? So as evening approached, and she looked pretty fidgety in this video from the TRH. I'm pretty sure if we, hopefully we can see a video of BJ's or the bowling alley, or I'm pretty sure they still had a lot of fun, and I'm pretty sure there was unity, and we were laughing, we were joking. I believe her because her language is consistent about the day, but not towards the evening. Towards the evening, her mind was on Chris, no more on Sebastian, but Sebastian was overhyped. So she told us again and again, she basically is working up towards a scenario. She feels to justify something. She feels the need to justify something. She's talking about how much he had to eat. And in other interviews, they tell us how overstimulated he gets and how they don't want him to eat too much. Of course, from what I see, they only feed him crap, spaghetti pancakes. Well, Katie, I think she's, like I said, I think her IQ is very high, but that doesn't mean she has common sense.
He's cracking me up here. I can't say that I totally agree with him on what he's saying there. I don't think she was worried about Sebastian making noise and Chris hearing it. I don't think that at all. He's smart. Yes, Cecilia, I do agree he's smart. I just the other thing is I don't know that I believe that they had fun. When you see TRH, when you see Sebastian in the TRH video, Did he look like a kid that was overstimulated from having so much fun? You know, they talk about he gets overstimulated. We haven't seen that. And granted, we haven't seen a whole lot of videos about Sebastian. But when I look at that TRH video, I don't see a young man. Now, okay, if he had a tendency to be overstimulated, okay, and he went to BJ's and he got all the snacks that he wanted and they went and put them away and they went to the bowling alley and they were playing video games and they had this wonderful, great day, would he not be overstimulated at TRH? Do you guys see an overstimulated young man at TRH? Tell me honestly, do you see that? Oh, Canine, thank you so much. I love you. You guys are awesome. Awesome, awesome. And then we'll go back.
Granny wants to thank you all for kindness in the chat. Super stickers, bright and grand, gifts of love we understand.
Memberships you gifted here spread the joy and banish fear. Every super thanks you send warms her heart and ends the end.
Granny cheers with love so true for each special thing you do. Thank you from her heart. You all play a major part.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, he looks scared and confused, but mannerly. Yeah, and I think he looked scared and confused because I think she was telling him where he was going to go. I could be wrong. After I lost my daughter, I drove 1,800 miles to get away from Michigan. I don't blame you, sweetheart. I really don't. You know, but you didn't leave until after things were over. That's the difference with you, Robin. You're a real mama. You loved your baby. And until you knew what happened to her, you didn't leave. Yeah. Yeah. Nervous young man, not overstimulated. Seth said he didn't look happy at the bowling alley either. I wish he would let us see that video. I think at this point, guys, I've said it, even Mike said it. Something happened in the last 2 years and they moved to this house. And maybe it was Sebastian found his safe place in school and was able to talk. You know, those teachers, guys, they looked like that they loved him, that they had a good relationship with him. We saw those interviews where the teachers were talking about him. They seemed to genuinely care about Sebastian. So I think he found his safe place and he was able to talk, right? Unfortunately, I wish he could have talked to his dad, but I don't think he did because he knows that his dad would not want his dad would be irate at anybody treating Sebastian badly. He was trying to protect his dad. Is what he was trying to do. That's what I think. Oh, Cecilia, I love you guys too. all of you, you're just so awesome. We have such a wonderful family here. We really do. I look forward to our chats every night. I really do. He didn't look happy at all. If Melissa Proudfoot was there part of the day, that would end the chance of any fun. Yes, because wasn't it Melissa Proudfoot in that video with that game show thing? She was mean to Sebastian that day. Yeah, the teachers did love him. They really did. So I think that, as far as Mike, we can agree to disagree. I mean, I just don't necessarily agree with where he's going here. But looking at what he hasn't seemed to gotten to his whiteboard yet. Hello, Poppy Love. Good to see you. But he's talking about the interviews, and when you talk about, oh gosh, Melissa. Wow. Yeah, and that's the thing. I find that really funny that they brought that up about that phone call that he called to brag. What about eating breakfast? Did mom never make breakfast? I mean, what's the deal there? And what mom of a missing child says, I made spaghetti pancakes. Fun fact, guys, look it up. Yeah, I'm it, yeah, I get lost for words when I just think about that. What kind of mom says that? Is that even going to be on your mind? I mean, I might have said, I made us breakfast. He called some family. We then went to, got a call about picking up my niece. We went and picked her up. We went to BJ's, came home, put snacks away because, but I mean, I would probably give the blow by blow, but I wouldn't, fun fact, look it up, Google it. I mean, it blows my mind. Kids are more likely to talk to others instead of parents. Kids find it hard to open up to parents. Yeah, and that's really true. And yeah, they do find it hard to open up to parents. Yeah, she was mean to him. She really was. Yeah, brag about it, Google it. Very strange comments from her, right? And that's why I have always said that Chris and Katie Proudfoot are their own worst enemies. A very detached mom. I love that you said that, Cheryl. That's really true. Very detached mom. She is so detached, But he's got on here wasting your time with insignificancies, right? Insignificancies, wasting your time with insignificancies. What were the insignificancies? They were, fun fact, Google it, spaghetti pancakes. Oh, he called to brag. What does any of that have to do with him being gone? And, why did she start there with the day before? Why? If you got up in the morning and your child was missing and the police said to you, "Tell me what happened. How did he go? Uh, how what was your morning like?" Right? But when reporters ask her that question, where does she go to? She goes to the 25th. Oh, we had a good day that day. Wait a minute. You got up the morning of the 26th to get him up for school. You went in his room and he wasn't there. Isn't that where you start? So the whole day of the 25th is really insignificant in the bigger scheme of things, guys. She was trying to paint this picture that she was this good and wonderful and kind and fun mom. And she was not. She was not. The whole thing about the 25th was insignificant, right? And we see the same thing in Chris, don't we? He gets off on all this other stuff, but look at what it says there. Try to sidetrack when you're on it. Try to sidetrack when you're on it. Why did he get so triggered about the geofencing for his truck? He jumped onto that panel, angry because Truth brought up the geofencing on his truck, showing that he was there that weekend, that he was in Hendersonville that weekend. And what did he do? Deception Detective said it. He sidetracked. He got off of it. He got the whole panel away from that. Yes. We know you do, Robin. False narrative about what his life was like. Exactly. Thanks for the reminder. I think I talked about the mother first, and then I talked about the truck. Maybe we'll find more words that trigger him. I don't know. Google it, Robin. We all had to. Here, I will Google it for you. All right. Anyway, so let's look at the images. Crispy spaghetti pancakes. They don't look appetizing to me, guys, but okay. Yuck. But okay. Those are spaghetti pancakes, but I heard that they're really not spaghetti. I don't know. Spaghetti pancakes showed up on my Facebook for some reason as a recipe. Had you just watched an interview of her saying spaghetti pancakes? Because sometimes, Facebook picks up that stuff in the algorithm. Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean, and Cecilia says you think that he was there, right? Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Law enforcement knows so much more than we do, guys, right? They do. And I mean, we hadn't even heard of geofencing. Chris brought it up to Truth. So then Truth decides to speak about it on his live broadcast. And Chris jumps on irate, right? I just think that's so hilarious because the public would never have known that geofencing picked up Chris's truck in Hendersonville that weekend if Chris hadn't opened his mouth. So he had no right getting mad at Truth at all. I mean, it was stupid. Yes. And they lead your attention away from the investigative path. These are things that Chris Watts did, guys, right? No flow of information. Chris Watts wasn't giving any information before he confessed, right? Before they planted that seed of maybe Shanann did it. And then he thought, oh, this is my out. Yeah. And talking about what isn't, no evidence. How many times have they said, both Chris and Katie, there's no evidence? But yet, Seth keeps saying that they have evidence. I think the biggest thing that they're waiting for is Sebastian. Yeah, and I mean, is there evidence of the poker game existed? I mean, I've only heard rumors of it. That's all. Right? I mean, all I know is Sebastian was on the computer and he seen something and got in trouble. Interesting. CP thinks Ellie are his friends, not. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, there is a higher connection besides Craddock. And I'm not sure how it all ties in, but I really hope that FBI has their finger on the pulse of this case because they need to. Yes. K9 says, I believe they don't want to put Sebastian in danger until they find him, keeping things quiet and calm. Yeah. I agree. What's a me 3 and me 4, Cheryl, for? Everybody's wondering what happened at the poker game? Gotcha. Yeah. Me 5. How about me 6, Cheryl? So, yeah, when you look at, I guess if you look at the things that he said, so you thought spaghetti pancakes were like potatoes fried. I really I did a deep search. Today I didn't, but and yeah, I thought they were mushed together and fried too, but I don't know. Maybe different people do them differently. Obviously, all those pictures we see. You're 5, I'm 6, huh? And Cecilia's 7. Oh my goodness. Yeah. The other things, offering nothing new, right? Have Chris and Katie ever offered anything new? Oh, wait. They are, right? I mean, guys, we need to be fair. We need to be fair, right? Can you tell I'm being facetious? So we're getting to see all this stuff now. They're offering something new. They're offering something new. I saw its pancake batter swirled to look like spaghetti. Hash browns fried like a pancake. Now I could get into that. That sounds very good. Craft KP. um, they have an answer to everything. That's more Chris, I think, than Katie, but yeah. No flow of information. I think that's really important, guys. No flow of information. There isn't a flow of information from them. Katie was all over the place, right? And you could tell that the 25th activities, those were scripted. The only deviation she's had from those is at first she heard something, then she heard a noise, and then it was a thud, and it's been a thud ever since. That's the only deviation she's had from the 25th definite script. Just put a cauliflower crust pizza in the oven. Yeah. Yeah, they're trying now all of a sudden to look like good people. Here's the thing. All of these pictures, guys. Remington Avenue, Gallatin. I'm not sure where this is, but it looks like he was younger. Remington Ave, Gallatin. I think so. There. Obviously. Definitely Remington Ave, Gallatin. Cropped Katie. This was Stafford Court. And this was Remington Ave, Gallatin. So isn't it funny how all these loving pictures all happened before the last 2 years? Cheryl, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's not them doing that. I think it's Well, you're going to find out Saturday. There are bigger players involved here. That's why the big $100,000 hit on Hong and Nick and those guys. The bigger players involved here. Could it be them and their cronies? Could be, I suppose. I don't know. I've come to the point I don't believe anything they say. They can't pick and choose. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many stories from them, right? Wasn't Katie's backyard neighbor a police officer that yeah. Yeah. He's not really a police officer. He is what is his title? Help me, Ginger. What is his title again? He is not retired, reserve correctional officer, which means that Henderson Police, he's a reserve correctional officer with the Hendersonville Police. Okay. So if he, like if they have a big parade and they need extra officers for protection, or something like that, something going on like that where they need extra people, then but that's what he is. He's not a police officer. He's just a reserve, and they just give them those cards without any training or anything, guys. They're not anybody special. It doesn't mean he was a police officer before. It doesn't mean anything like that. It's another part of this big thing that's going on. You observe when they talk, you see things. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, and I think that we've all seen things when they talk. Their statements have been torn apart by professionals. I mean, you're talking deception detective, you're talking Mike Demand, you're talking Peter Hyatt, all these people have behavior panel have broken down, and they all have the same conclusion, guys. So I mean, it's amazing, right? That all these people have come up with the same conclusion that they're involved, right? So, honey bun. But yeah, that many people coming to the same conclusion, and guys, these guys are professional. They're not going to say something just because one of their colleagues did. They're not like that. They're not going to be that way, right? So, for the life of me, I do not understand how the obstacles can believe them. honestly. Yeah, the professionals have been awesome in this case. They really have. Um, and I mean, guys, it it wasn't even that we were listening. These professionals didn't come out right away. You know, where did we get our opinions, our personal opinions? We got them from their interviews, right? And we used critical thinking and common sense, didn't we? We maybe could not pick out things like Mike Demand can or the behavior panel can, or, we maybe can't pick things out, but we can see things enough to know, whoa, something's not right here, right? I mean, all we had to do was watch Chris get angry on on an interview and go, whoa, what did poor Sebastian live with, right? Melissa, that's very true. That's very true. They weren't. So what happened? Was money offered? Guys, when I started my YouTube channel, I never knew there was such a thing as paying people to be hateful, to be oppositional. It's a thing. It's real and it's truthful. I believe that because we've seen his pictures. His cameras were able to, to see a lot more than what we've seen. Yes. Then after we used critical thinking, we faced the gaslighting attacks. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yeah, I've heard that too. Um, I also heard that he rode around with the police the first day. But here's the thing. I wish I could find more information on him. But I haven't been able to. I've also heard that Katie had an affair with him. I mean, we don't know what's truth and what's not, guys. I guess my thinking is that I do not want to trust him. I'm not going to trust that there was something nefarious in him saying it's bad, it's so bad. I'm just not going to go there. Because why did he do that? If he's this big shot reserve correctional officer, why did he do that? He's very friendly with Katie. Katie and Chris were not there. Was he putting on a show for Seth? Why did he do that? You see what I'm getting at? I mean, I just don't know that I trust that. I've no doubt that he said it. I just don't know if I trust that he was being sincere when he said it. They have a lot of spies that they like to put in the camp, right? So I just don't know if I trust him, honestly. but I don't know enough about him to say if he was being truthful or not. He left crying. Yeah. So tell me what you think about it. I mean, so at the vigil, he says, it's bad, it's so bad, it's so bad, and he leaves crying. Well, what does that mean then? Because Seth wasn't putting across the scenario that Sebastian was gone at that point. That was very early on in the investigation. So Melissa says, if this was premeditated and he was told that day what the plan was, he fought against it. In my opinion, I also think he didn't have access to his phone, so he couldn't tell his dad, in my opinion, again. Yeah, I agree. I agree he fought against it because we saw the scratch marks on Chris's arms, and I don't believe those were from a dog. I agree. I don't think he had access to his phone. I don't believe they would have allowed him to have access to his phone. He didn't even have his phone at TRH. And yes, in my opinion as well, Melissa. I mean, of course, he's not going to want to leave there. Even as bad as things are, kids still love their parents. So you think he had info about it? You want to know what my thoughts are? That he was one of them in the 3:00 thing. He lived right there. Right? You were a tech for animals, not dog bites. Yeah. Those were nail scratches. For sure. I mean, anybody can see that, right? Those were nail scratches, and Katie had on long sleeves. So who knows what she had on her arms. Chris, bold and brash, Mr. Chris, right? Wears short sleeves. Shows his arms. Yeah, I think that guy was in on it. For sure. I do. Yeah. I mean, we don't know for sure. It's all speculation, right? But could very well be. It's just the fact that it was convenient. It's a known fact that he and Katie knew each other really well. There's speculation that him and Katie were getting it on, for lack of a better word at this moment, but that's what I hear. So it would make sense if he helped Katie. It just, I don't know, it just makes me, I wish we had more information, right? But I would never want to have information that could be detrimental to the case, right? And Ginger says, that reserve fellow is sus to me. He says there was nothing on his camera. He blurred his home on Google. He was going to sell his home and then changed his mind when a cash purchase was offered. And that's right. And Mob Crew has screenshots coming from his home. He says he never turned in any information to law enforcement from his camera. He says there was nothing on his camera. But Crabtree showed his videos on his I'm just going to say this, guys. Crabtree showed his videos on a live. Somebody evidently screenshotted those videos, pictures of those videos, and it turned out and sent them to Mob Crew, and it turned out to be the exact same picture that SF had shared but was blurred. So this reserve guy gave his footage to SF. Really? Now we know SF works with Katie and Chris. Okay. I mean, so you can see what side he's on. He wasn't at the vigil for Seth. So, in my opinion, that's why I don't trust him. And those screenshots actually showed that there were lights on in the Proudfoot home when the flashlight video was taking place. But yet he didn't share them with law enforcement? Really? I'm just saying, guys. So I don't trust him at all. At all. He chased out dogs investigators from the neighborhood. Yep, he did. Yep. And his home and camper was never searched by Ellie, where all the other ones were. Yeah, it's very suspicious. And like I said, I wish there was more information out there about him. I don't know, but I think who put out that information? Because doesn't matter. Think about it. If a window was open, does it matter, guys? That window that they're talking about was on the front of the house. If someone came or went from that window, that camera across the street would have seen it. There's nothing, there's no evidence proving Sebastian left out the front at all. There's no evidence. So, does it matter that the window was open? I mean, really, does it? In my opinion, it doesn't. I agree. And when you look at Sebastian's teeth, all the more reason to believe that those are Sebastian's teeth. They're spread apart. Just remember in dominoes, when one falls down, they all fall down. That is so true. Guys, there's a reason that things are coming out now. And Robin, no, they haven't forgotten the lies they told. Now they're scared. And Chris from the Mob Crew said there's a reason something happened. He can't share it because he protects his sources. which I admire and respect him for that. But he said that something happened that ended up making them plead the fifth, and now they're not talking to law enforcement at all. And that's why they're being quiet pretty much. I guess the thing is, if we want Chris to speak out again, we got to trigger him about something. He's got to be triggered. Yeah. Why would a window be open? Well, here's what I'll tell you about a window being open. No, it's if the house got too hot, right? When you live in an upper apartment, sometimes it can get hot up there, but no, they live in a one floor. That's a good point. Window was open for an alibi so neighbors could say there was no fighting or noisy coming from the home that night. Yeah. Yes, Sebastian does look like Seth, but with blonde hair. Yes, they are scared. And yes, Chris from the Mod Crew is awesome. Trucker mother, yes. But here's the thing, guys. He can get triggered somewhere else. I really don't want to talk to him. My channel's too small to worry about him, I think, coming on. But honestly, I really don't want to talk to him. He triggers me. I'd be angry. Yeah. You'd see a different side of this granny. You really would. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. Would not want to do it. Go talk to somebody else. So today my grannyism is there's 3 simple rules in life. Love needs action. Trust needs proof. Sorry needs change. Isn't that awesome? Katie, love needs action. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. But then again, he'd probably think, everybody would jump on and I'd all of a sudden gain more, he'd be doing me a favor. That's the way he talks. But we don't want him here. You're right, Cecilia. He can go somewhere else. Don't have any desire to talk to that man. He reminds me too much of my first husband. I just, no, thank you. But yeah, trust needs proof, right? So, and when you correlate this with the Sebastian Rogers case, it's so true. Love needs action. Katie, do you love your kid? What are you doing about it? Trust. You want our trust? Give us some proof. Are you sorry? Then you need to change. Then you need to confess. Yeah, but let's not give him that much credit. You know what, guys? Here's the thing. Here is the thing. I like, we may be growing slowly, right? But I like what we're building here. We have such a great family where we think critically. We are not about the drama. We use common sense, right? And we spread the love here, right? To each other. I mean, I love what we're building here. And so that means we just build slow and steady. That's okay with me. I'm fine with that. Because when you grow really fast, sometimes you get people who you don't want, right? And so I'm happy with the way things are. I'm happy with the way we're growing and the way we go, because I love our family here. I just really do. And you know, him here, what's that going to do? That would just bring drama, wouldn't it? And a lot of people that we don't want here. If it was for Seth, Sebastian would be like all the other children that no one is searching for. Yes. Yes. And it's like I said a long time ago, and I watched another thing today that brought it up again. There's 2,300 children every day that go missing in the United States, guys. That breaks my heart. And Ginger and I talked about it earlier, and obviously it breaks her heart too. Um, you know, and that's the thing. Some of these parents, guys, are not shouting from the rooftops that their kids are missing. What has happened to parents that they don't care that their children are missing, that they're not doing everything in their power, to get their child's face out there so that they're found? Yes, and K9 said it good. It's all of us together that makes it great. It's not me, guys. It's you. I'm just leading the discussion. It's you guys that make it awesome. We need an at-night team for all missing children. Yes, we do. We do. We really do. And I was going to try to just start putting up every missing child that I could see. And when I started looking at it, it was overwhelming. And then, the next day some were found, and, and it just too much to keep up with, right? But in reality, it's not fair. And I think that's why they aren't getting the media coverage, because think about it, guys. I cannot possibly talk about 2,300 people missing every single day. Children. That's not even adults. That's children that are missing. I could not possibly do it. You would not possibly want to, watch that every day, would you? It would get depressing for one thing, but it's sad. Good night, Cheryl. But yeah, so, kind of think about the 3 simple rules, and if we all follow this, life would be awesome. Love needs action. Trust needs proof. Sorry needs change. Right? So that's all I had for you guys today. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all of you so much. So very much. So we'll see you tomorrow night. And don't forget, Saturday, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Is it noon Pacific? I think we figured out here tonight. So become a member so you guys can be in on come with your pens and papers and your critical thinking skills and help us figure all of it out. We have a lot that we know that's going to blow your mind, but there's a lot left to figure out. All right. So thank you guys. Appreciate you so much. We'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.